Hey guys, tonight we journey back to a world before apps, before letters, even before language as we know it. Because tonight you're going on a date in the Stone Age. You're wrapped in something that smells like goat, sitting on a rock that's slightly too sharp, and watching the flicker of firelight dance across cave walls smeared with ochre and soot. You've just made eye contact with someone across the hearth. Their hair is matted in a way that feels deliberate. Their necklace is a string of mouse bones. You're pretty sure that's a flex. And no, there's no candlelit dinner or playlist of mood-setting lute music. But there's something. A glance. A shift in posture. The way they casually lift a spear tip to catch the firelight just to show off that it's obsidian. Smooth. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I love seeing who's drifting off with me around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't remember when you first noticed them? Maybe it was during the last hunt, when they hurled a stone with freakish precision at a rabbit. Or when they shared dried berries at the morning fire without being asked. All you know is now, tonight. They're there across the fire pit, half-shadowed, chewing calmly on something charred. And you can't stop looking. Love, in the Stone Age, isn't candlelit or whispered. It's elemental. It starts with proximity. You see each other every day because you share a cave, a clan, and a constant concern about getting eaten by leopards. That kind of pressure really accelerates the whole getting to know you process. The fire crackles. Your crushlets call them ash snorts at a joke made by the elder beside them. You pretend not to notice, but let's be honesty, you're noticing everything. The way Ash's fingers idly braid a strand of animal sinew. The way their laugh somehow cuts through the din of snoring elders and crackling pine. You shift your weight, just a little, to get a better view and sit squarely on a jagged rock. You wince, but play it cool. Very cool. Because if you squeal like last time, you might ruin this very subtle, very ancient vibe. You're not alone in this dance. Everyone around the fire is watching everyone. The Stone Age clan is a reality show where nothing is private and gossip spreads faster than lice. That look Ash just gave you? It didn't go unnoticed. The grandmother, 2 places over, raises a mossy eyebrow. The little sibling, peeking out from behind the firewood pile, makes the ooh sound yes. That one only in proto-language squeaks. You try to refocus. You remember the rule. Eye contact counts. Not too long, not too short. Long enough to signal interest, but short enough that it doesn't read as a challenge to a wrestling match. Honestly, it's exhausting. You wish for the simplicity of a text, but no. You've got firelight and facial expressions to work with. And here's the thing. This is one of the earliest forms of social courtship humanity ever experienced. Before agriculture, before settlements, just raw interpersonal navigation, dictated by instinct and necessity. Historians still argue whether love, as we understand it, even existed in your era. Some think it was purely functional pair bonding for survival. Others suggest that even 30,000 years ago, humans longed for connection that went deeper than the next meal. You're leaning into the romance. Maybe it's the way Ash handed you that last piece of honeycomb during yesterday's foraging. or the time they pulled you up a slope when you slipped in mammoth dung and didn't even laugh. That's got to mean something, right? You're about to glance back at Ash again when there's a commotion. One of the younger hunters has got arms the size of logs and a tooth necklace the size of his ego decides now is the time to loudly retell his boar encounter. He puffs up, gesturing with dramatic flair. Ash rolls their eyes. You smirk. Shared annoyance. It's practically foreplay. To outsiders, this may all seem like chaos. But to you, it's a highly choreographed social ballet. Everyone knows their role. There are subtle signals. Who sits next to whom? Who shares food? Who sharpens whose tools? You've noticed Ash sharpening your spearheads lately. Slowly. Carefully. That's affection. Or maybe they're just tired of your uneven javelins. You choose to believe it's affection. A little-known detail. Cave wall carvings, those handprints, spirals, and animal drawings may not just be art. Some researchers believe they were messages, symbols, maybe even love notes. Imagine leaving a red handprint near your crush's sleeping mat. It's like a Stone Age sticky note that reads, "You up for foraging." You remember a story the elder told last week about a couple who eloped to the next valley. Dramatic, right? They supposedly left behind carved footprints leading into the hills. No one ever saw them again. Or maybe they just got eaten by a bear. Either way, it was romantic. You stretch your legs, trying to look casual. Ash meets your gaze again. This time, it lingers. Just a beat longer. You smile barely. They look down at the fire, and their lips curve into something half smile, half smirk. Your heart thuds like a mammoth drum. And that's the thing. In this world of predators and cold nights, of smoky shelters and bug-infested furs, that moment, the tiniest flicker of mutual interest feels monumental. Love, or whatever you want to call it, is rare, precious, almost sacred. Outside the cave, the wind howls through the trees. Somewhere in the dark, something growls. But in here, in the warm glow of fire and moss and possibility, you let your shoulders drop. Just a little. You're not in love yet. Not really. But something has begun. And in the Stone Age, that's more than most people get. You wake to the faint glow of morning seeping in from the cave's mouth. The air is damp. Your back is sore from sleeping on uneven stones. And there's the familiar ache behind your left shoulder that's been with you since that last stumble down a wet hillside. Somewhere nearby, someone coughs deep, gravelly. The fire is almost out. Nothing left but smoldering charcoal and the sharp scent of pine ash. But that's not what jolts you fully awake. No, it's the soft clink of something landing near your sleeping mat, just off to the side. You blink hard and turn. It's a pebble. Small, smooth, shaped by water, faintly red-veined, like it once held a tiny storm inside. It's not just any pebble. It's been chosen. You know that, because it didn't fall there on its own. Ash walked by just moments ago, hair still damp from the river, fingers red from cold. They didn't say a word, just dropped it. You reach for the stone like it might vanish. It's warm, not from the sun. There hasn't been any but from them, from their hand. You close your fingers around it, pretending to stretch. No one saw. Or if they did, they politely ignored it. That's how your people handle things that might become something sacred. Last night, around the fire, Ash met your eyes again. Longer this time. You remember how the glow made their face half shadow, half flame. How their fingers moved as they worked a piece of sinew, braiding it like they weren't even thinking about it. But you were thinking. You haven't stopped. This pebble, it's a beginning. In the Stone Age, there are no grand gestures, no sonnets, no rooftop confessions. Love, or something like it, begins with offerings. Not showy or extravagant, just real. Tangible, chosen with care. You spend the next hour pretending to be productive. You tap stones together, check the sharpness of your spear, and dig through your satchel with exaggerated focus. But your mind's racing. What do you give in return? You don't have much. A bit of dried moss, 2 beetles roasted from yesterday's embers, a river shell with a small hole worn through, maybe from water, maybe from time. You examine them all like a merchant at market. The beetles? Crunchy, smoky, nutritious. Not beautiful, but honest. You wrap them in a piece of bark and walk slowly to Ash Spot. Their bedding still carries the faint scent of pine and old charcoal. You place the gift just to the left, near their water skin, where they'll see it first thing. You don't linger. Just turn and leave, heart pounding. You spend the rest of the morning trying to look casual, like you didn't just declare prehistoric affection through insect snacks. Ash returns from the forest not long after. You hear the crunch of twigs under their feet. You keep your head down, but listen closely. They pause. Silence. Then a quiet crunch. They ate one. You risk a glance. They're chewing slowly, looking dead ahead, but their mouth twitches into the smallest grin. You're in. Anthropologists today believe that early courtship revolved around gifting behavior, not because people were sentimental, but because it demonstrated survival value. Sharing food wasn't just kind. It was strategic. A declaration, I can spare this for you. I want you to stay. In your world, generosity is dangerous. Every bite you give away is a bite you might not have tomorrow. So when Ash accepts your gift and gives one in return, it means something. Something deeper than just hunger. It means they've noticed you. You start to move in each other's orbit more frequently. On foraging trips, you take parallel paths. Not quite side by side, but close. You both pretend it's coincidence. When they stop to dig roots, you stop too, suddenly curious about bark. When you laugh at something a child says, they laugh a breath after not mocking, but echoing, like they heard it through your ears first. You start recognizing their rhythms, the way they crack pine nuts with the heel of their hand, the soft humming when they spot edible mushrooms. You mirror them without realizing it. A shift of posture, a grunt of satisfaction, the shape of their silhouette against the fading sun. Love, if you can call it that, is slow and wordless. There's a story one of the elders tells half-remembered, likely exaggerated, about a couple who fell in love over a series of stolen lunches. One would leave half a smoked vole hidden behind a stone. The other would replace it with nuts and berries. It went on for weeks before anyone noticed. When they finally left together, they carved matching handprints on a rock at the edge of camp. You've seen it. The hands are still there, weathered, but clear. You wonder if anyone will remember you and Ash, if there will be marks to show you were ever close. Curiously, some archaeologists propose that gift-giving had its own seasonal cycle surges in pairing behavior that aligned with longer daylight and food abundance. Spring, usually. The time when berries return and birds start their wild shrieking. Maybe that's why you feel this now. The thaw, the shift, the new softness in the air. But not everything is soft. That evening, you see Ash speaking with another forager. Tall, broad-shouldered, with 3 braids and a tendency to laugh too loud. They're standing close, sharing dried berries. Your chest tightens. You tell yourself it's fine. Nothing's defined. Nothing's promised. Still, something flickers behind your ribs. Not quite fear, not anger either. Just the old, stinging cousin of loneliness. Jealousy. You keep your hands busy. You pull at your sleeping mat. You rearrange firewood. You don't watch them, not really, but your ears are attuned to every note of that conversation. As darkness settles, the tribe sings quietly, low and rhythmic. A drumbeat made from skin and hollow wood pulses like a heartbeat. You hum, but your mind is elsewhere. Then footsteps, light, near your mat. You don't look up. A soft thump on the ground beside you. Something has been placed. You wait. 1 breath, 2. Then you glance. It's a feather, pale brown and speckled, from a marsh bird, bound at the base with a narrow twist of birch bark. It's not showy, but it's beautiful. It's deliberate, and it's for you. You don't pick it up right away. You sit with it, letting its meaning settle in, like the pebble, like the beetles, like the silence that hangs between you and ash soft, but full. Later, when the fire dims and most of the clan is curled under hides, you finally reach for it. You hold it gently, as if it might fly off. Press it to your cheek. Let it rest beside you as you sleep. In this world, words are rare. Love is rarer. But this is something. You're walking back from the creek with damp feet and a bundle of wild garlic tucked under your arm when it hits you. There's no manual for this. No rule book. No paint-by-numbers guide to love when everyone's still figuring out how to make fire without burning their eyebrows off. You've shared food with Ash, traded glances across the campfire, exchanged offerings like 2 shy magpies. But now what? You wonder who makes the first move. Not just in gestures and glances, but in real action. In stepping closer. In saying, not with words, but with time and effort, choosing you. You scan the tribe. Around you, couples do form. Sometimes slowly, sometimes like a lightning strike during a summer storm. But the pattern is fuzzy. And just when you think you've cracked it, who initiates? Who waits? It shifts. Some days it seems like the men pursue, all chest-puffing and antler-wearing bravado. Other days, it's the women, weaving loops of symbolism into fur bands and choosing their partners by where they sit at dusk. Then there are the elders, watching it all like puppeteers with smoke in their eyes, pretending they're not judging, but absolutely judging. Historians still argue whether early human courtship followed rigid gender roles, or if roles shifted with environment, clan traditions, or even personal quirks. Some tribes might have leaned patriarchal, with men competing in feats of strength for a partner's attention. Others could have been matriarchal, with women making selections based on skills, status, or something as mundane as whose hair looked least lice-ridden. In your case, it's unclear. Ash doesn't wait for you, but they don't rush either. You sometimes catch them watching you, eyes following your movements like they're taking mental notes. Once, you dropped a water pouch and they picked it up before you even bent down. Not a word exchanged, just the simple, quiet message. I noticed. You try to return the favor. One evening, you spot them struggling to lift a heavy log meant for the windbreak. You step in, brace your shoulder beside theirs, and together you heave. The log shifts, settles. They look at you, breathless, eyes crinkled at the corners from the effort. You don't speak. You don't need to. And yet, for all the shared labor and silent kindnesses, the line remains blurred. You think of the young hunter, Croth. He's loud, confident, always showing off. Yesterday, he speared a hare mid-sprint and handed it, very obviously, to a young woman by the fire. She smiled. Everyone saw. Tonight they sit together, their bodies angled inward like two branches curling toward the same patch of sun. But that doesn't feel like your story. You and Ash are quieter, slower, less obvious. Like two flints slowly sparking in the dark, waiting to catch. It's strange, though, how the tribe seems to sense these things. You haven't said anything to anyone, not a word. But somehow, little signs begin to appear. You notice you're being paired with Ash more often during gathering, when watching the children, even when organizing hunting tools. The elder in charge of assignments, a wiry woman with one cloudy eye, never explains her choices, but you suspect she knows, or remembers, or once felt this way herself. In the Paleolithic world, courtship isn't private. It's public, social, woven to the daily rhythms of the group. Everyone notices, everyone interprets. Sometimes that's helpful. Other times, it's a slow-moving avalanche of awkward. Case in point, yesterday, the twins, barely old enough to sharpen sticks, sang a teasing little chant while you and Ash carried firewood. You couldn't understand all the words, but the rhythm was unmistakably that of a love song. You nearly dropped the kindling. Ash just rolled their eyes and kept walking, but the flush on their cheeks was unmistakable. You wonder what this courtship would look like from the outside. If someone stumbled into your tribe, what would they see? Two people trading gifts and glances, working in tandem, resting a little closer by the fire each night. No declarations, no grand gestures, just a slow gravitational pull toward each other. You suspect it's always been this way. A scholar once wrote that love in early humans wasn't just about mating, it was about cooperation and compatibility under pressure. Who would watch your back? Who could carry firewood while you kept an eye on the wolves? Who could braid a rope while you cleaned hides? You weren't just picking a partner. You were picking a survival plan. But still you want to know. Want to feel something real. Something decisive. A turning point. So one night, when the stars are clearer than usual and the fire burns low, you make a choice. You approach Ash, not with a grand speech. You don't have the language for that. And even if you did, it would probably come out wrong. But you sit beside them, close enough that your knees touch. They don't move away. You hand them a strip of jerky, your last piece, carefully smoked, salted with crushed fern ash, not easy to part with. They take it, bite, chew slowly. Then in return, they pull something from the small pouch tied at their hip. It's a carved bead, tiny, smooth, bone white with a spiral etched in red ochre. They press it into your hand without a word. Your fingers close around it like it's a talisman. Nothing more happens. Not that night. But from that moment on, the world shifts a little. You walk together more often, sleep closer to the same fire circle. You begin to recognize each other's footsteps in the dark. And once, while climbing a slope after a rain, your foot slips, and Ash catches your arm before you fall. Their grip is strong, warm, steady. You don't say thank you. Just meet their gaze and nod. If someone were to ask who made the first move, you wouldn't know how to answer. It wasn't one thing. It was many. A pebble, a beetle, a shared log, a song. In the Stone Age, there's no script. But somehow, you're learning the steps. The morning air bites at your skin, sharp and clean, like the world just woke up and hasn't decided yet whether it wants to be warm today. You squint into the pale sky as the tribe stirs, stretching, grunting, unbundling from hides like slow-moving roots. The fire's crackling again. Someone's already tossing fish bones into the flames. And the smell is, well, not romantic. Ash is sitting across the fire, as usual. You catch their eye. They blink, hold your gaze just long enough, then look away with a twitch of a smile. It's the fourth time this morning. You've counted. Because eye contact is everything now. You're deep in what might be the world's earliest version of flirting. There's no texting, no swiping, no accidentally bumping into someone at the communal water hole and complimenting their mammoth hide sandals. No. You're working with pure body language and the occasional grunt. You tilt your head toward Ash slightly. They respond by scratching their chin. It might be nothing. It might be everything. Welcome to the prehistoric romance language, where gestures are code and a look across the fire pit can be more intimate than a dozen whispered words. You and Ash have developed a rhythm, a shared language of glances, gestures, and almost smiles. You catch yourself mimicking the way they stretch their fingers before skinning bark. They seem to mirror your habit of softly clicking your tongue when thinking. It's like watching two wolves circle not as enemies, but as something cautious and curious. Anthropologists say body language was likely the first and most vital form of courtship communication. You're not speaking in sentences, but in micro-expressions. A blink held just long enough, a shoulder angled inward, feet pointed toward, not away. All of it says more than your half-evolved vocal cords ever could. There's a grunt from nearby. One of the elders, clearly amused by something. You glance down and realize Ash is still watching you. You were supposed to be gutting fish. Instead, you're standing there with a flint knife in one hand and a blank look in your eyes. Smooth. You resume gutting, casually, as if your heart wasn't galloping like a spooked deer. Let's be honest. Flirting in the Stone Age is awkward. Very awkward. There's no guidebook, no magazine quiz, just instinct, timing, and the occasional near-death experience to bring two people together. Like that time you and Ash were out gathering roots, and a startled wild pig charged from the underbrush. You both leapt backward into the mud at the same time. Ash landed on top of you. You smelled like wet moss for 2 days. It wasn't romantic, but you haven't laughed that hard since. Since then, something shifted. You don't touch often. Touch is rare in your world, unless it's functional. But now, when you hand each other things, your fingers linger. Your elbows graze more than necessary. You've started brushing away leaves from where they sit, casually, like it's nothing. Like you weren't just looking for an excuse to be near. It's subtle, but it builds. One night, while the tribe gathers to sing, Ash sits beside you without asking. Your thighs touch. Their knee leans into yours. You don't move. Neither do they. The fire flickers, casting long shadows on the walls. Someone drums slowly. You feel the rhythm in your chest and in the way Ash's body stays pressed to yours, steady and warm. This is the closest thing you've had to a date. You glance up and notice 2 other people in the tribe watching you. They look at each other, then back at you, and smile faintly. You're not sure if that's good or bad, but what else is there to do? You reach into your pouch and pull out a flat piece of bark with a spiral you carve just with a sharp flake and a steady hand. Nothing complex, just a symbol you've seen in cave markings before. You don't even know what it means. but it felt like something you wanted to share. You offer it to Ash, palm open. They take it without speaking, turn it over, smile, just a little, then tuck it into their pouch, beside a few feathers and a smooth bone bead. Flirting, Stone Age style, is half performance and half guessing game. Some fringe researchers even believe certain cave markings were early forms of courtship codes. Not just hunting scenes or religious symbols, but messages between individuals. A symbol carved near someone's sleeping place. A painted animal left unfinished for someone else to complete. No hard proof, but in your bones, you believe it. Ash begins leaving little signs now. Once, a sprig of wild mint on your bedding. Another time, a small rock with a hole through it, probably natural, but still rare. Once, a bone carving shaped vaguely like a fish. You don't talk about them. You just keep them close. Touch them when the nights are cold and long. Flirting evolves. You've started sitting closer at mealtimes, sharing tools. You ask for their help when you probably don't need it. They let you carry their bundle even when they're not tired. It's slow, intentional, full of pauses and quiet permission. Sometimes you miss the signs. Once, Ash offered you a strip of smoked lizard tail, and you refused, thinking it was just food. Later, you realize it was one of their favorites, a gift. You feel terrible. The next day, you bring them a perfectly peeled root with the bitterness soaked out. They accept it. Things return to their delicate balance. In this world, nothing is rushed. Because trust is slow, and everything rides on trust. A missed signal could mean embarrassment. A wrong move could shift tribe dynamics. So you both walk carefully, learning the landscape of each other like a hunter learning the pattern of migrating deer. You know this dance isn't unique to you. Around you, others do it too. You've seen couples begin and fall apart, sometimes within a week, sometimes in a single day. Sometimes it ends with silence, sometimes with shouting. Once, someone flung a handful of fermented berries at their ex-mate. That one still gets told around the fire. But with you and Ash, it's different. No explosions, just warmth building like embers under ash. Quiet, steady, real. One day, Ash touches your hand, lightly, deliberately, just for a moment, as they pass you a water skin. And in that moment, you feel it. Not just attraction, not just affection, but understanding. And that more than any spiral on bark or bone-carved trinketus, the clearest message of all. The sun begins to dip, casting long golden streaks across the edge of camp. Smoke curls lazily from the fire pit. Scented with pine resin and dried sagebrush, someone tossed in for good luck. You're crouched near the entrance, your fingers smeared with ochre rust red and gritty, made from powdered stone mixed with river water. You press some onto your cheekbone and smudge it out gently. Not too much, just enough. You've seen Ash doing the same earlier, crouched in the shadows behind a cluster of birch saplings, pressing dark spiral shapes into the skin of their arms with a bit of reed stick. The same spiral you carved on bark a few nights ago. You try not to read into it, but of course you do. Tonight isn't officially anything. No one announces it. No one calls for attention or lays out a fur-lined altar. But the signs are there. Everyone in the tribe moves differently, purposefully. There's more brushing of hair, more straightening of furs. People are checking their necklaces, adjusting their fire-stained cloaks, shaking dust from their bundles like they care what others see. Even the elder with the crooked spine has braided their beard. You glance down at your own tunic. It's serviceable, but stained and stiff around the collar. You dig into your bundle and pull out the softer one, the one made from rabbit hide and smoke-tanned deer. It's warmer, lighter, and dare you say, it's almost flattering. You rub it with crushed mint leaves just for the scent. Then after a moment of hesitation, you pull a single gray feather from your pouch, the one Ash gave you, and slip it into the side tie of your belt, just visible. It feels ridiculous, but it also feels right. You aren't the only one preparing. People are gathering near the central fire. A few begin to move in time with the slow beat of someone tapping on a hollow log. Not music, exactly, more like heartbeat and memory. A low, rhythmic thud that seems to come from the bones of the earth itself. Ash steps into the clearing. Your breath catches before you even realize it. They've painted their face knot fully, just a band across the eyes like dusk drawn onto skin. Their shoulders glint with beads made of shell and shaped bone. Their tunic falls just a little differently tonight, gathered with a braided belt that shifts as they move. You can't look away. They meet your gaze and hold it. Not long. Just enough. Then they look toward the fire and start to move. The dance has begun. It isn't formal. There's no choreography, no calls or steps to memorize. Everyone moves differently. Some sway, some spin. Some just rock gently on their heels like saplings in wind. It's not about showing off. It's about being seen, and maybe being chosen. You hesitate at the edge, then step forward. You don't move toward Ash directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, you fall into the rhythm, shifting in circles that spiral inward, tracing the same arcs others are making. The firelight catches the ochre on your skin. You raise your arms. Let yourself sway. Ash glances your way. They pivot in a slow, deliberate turn and drift closer. Now you're moving together, not touching, not speaking, but aligned. You mirror each other's steps. When they sway, you sway. When they slow, you slow. You don't know who's leading, and maybe that's the point. Historians agree that prehistoric courtship often involved ritualized movement, though they debate the line between ceremony and instinct. Was it performance, a mating display, or something more tender, something like this? Some fringe researchers go further, suggesting that early dances were compatibility tests. Partners would assess one another's rhythm, agility, and focus not just for physical attraction, but for survival value. Could they keep up? Could they move with you through danger, through cold, through time? If that's true, you and Ash are passing the test. Ash steps closer. You feel their warmth before you feel their hand, just the brush of fingertips against yours. Barely there, but deliberate. A ripple moves through your chest, like water disturbed by a pebble. You don't pull away. Neither do they. The fire snaps loudly. A few others stop dancing, but you remain, breathing, moving. Eventually, Ash steps back. You both break the rhythm at the same time, not abruptly, gently, like waves receding. Later, by the fire's edge, you sit beside each other on a shared pelt. You sip water from a bark cup, eat a few dried berries. Say nothing. Words aren't necessary. Then, from their pouch, Ash pulls something small. It's a necklace. Rough string made from sinew and woven grass, threaded with beads. Not the flashy Keen-No brightly painted bones or rare colored stones. Just simple river-polished pebbles, each worn smooth. Two of them have tiny holes that look naturally formed, like little eyes. One has a faint red swirl. The final bead is black shiny, heavy, unmistakably obsidian. Ash holds it out, palm open. You stare at it. They don't explain. Just meet your gaze. You reach for it, hands trembling slightly, and lift it gently. The cord is soft against your skin as you place it over your head. The beads settle against your collarbone. They're warm, not just from the fire, but from Ash's hands, from intent. This is a signal. A gift like this isn't casual. You've seen it before? A necklace like this passed from one person to another meant something. A claim? Maybe. A beginning? Almost certainly. Archaeologists have unearthed pairs of matching bead necklaces buried side by side, left in graves so old they predate written memory. No one knows what they meant for sure. But buried together? That says something. Maybe everything. Ash leans into you gently, your shoulders pressed together. The tribe carries on around you. Conversations rise and fall. Someone hums. A baby cries once and is hushed. The fire crackles, low and steady, its glow tracing lazy arcs on the inside of the shelter walls. You let the silence stretch. Let your breath match theirs. You don't say the words. There are no words for this yet, not in your tongue, not in anyone's. But what you feel now is real. Not because it's loud, but because it's shared. Ash nudges you once with their elbow. You smile, just barely. And they smile too. You don't know where this path leads. Maybe the bond will grow. Maybe it will fade with the season. You've seen both happen. The tribe shifts constantly, like wind over grass. But tonight, under the stars, wearing the beads they made with their own hands, you feel like something has begun. And that's enough. The morning fog rolls in like a slow tide, blanketing the ground in a pale, ghostly hush. Every breath you take feels heavier, cooler, laced with the scent of damp earth and fading embers. Somewhere behind you, the last crackles of last night's fire sputter into silence. You shift under your fur wrap, stretch, and glance up. Ash is already awake. They're crouched by the edge of the clearing, rinsing a bundle of roots in a shallow puddle left by the night's rain. Their movements are quiet, methodical, like someone who's trying not to wake the day too quickly. You watch them for a moment, just a moment before rising. You've begun doing that lately, watching them. Not out of nervousness anymore, but something closer to habit, a comfort. They're the first thing you look for when you open your eyes. And more often than not, they're already looking back. You share no shelter, not officially, but you often wake near one another. Sometimes only a few feet apart, sometimes curled at the edges of the same fur mat. In the Stone Age, where cold can kill and fire space is limited, sleeping close isn't scandalous. But still people notice. And you notice that they notice. The tribe has no walls, no bedrooms, no doors you can close behind you when the world gets too loud. The camp is open air, every cough and rustle and late-night whisper drifting freely on the wind. Privacy, in this world, is a luxury you carve for yourself, moment by moment, footstep by footstep. You and Ash have started carving it. It began with short walks. At first, just to gather bark or herbs. But those trips grew longer. You'd wander beyond the ridge to check for snare lines. They'd suggest following the creek upstream, just to see. You started finding places, natural alcoves, quiet shadows, thickets thick enough to muffle laughter. And then you found the hollow, tucked behind a curtain of thick vines and low-hanging branches. It's barely wide enough for two people seated side by side. The stone is damp, mossy, and oddly sweet-smelling from some underground spring. You've never seen anyone else go there. You never told anyone. You never named it aloud, but in your thoughts, It's the Love Hut. There, away from the ever-chattering camp, you and Ash talk more now than before. In whispers, in grunts, in long stretches of silence that don't feel empty. Ash has a habit of humming tuneless melodies while fidgeting with dry reeds. You lie back and count ceiling cracks like stars. Sometimes you share food, sometimes warmth, sometimes nothing at all. Anthropologists today believe prehistoric people often had special meeting spots away from the group shadow shelters, some call them. These weren't formal structures, but natural, hidden places where early lovers could bond away from public scrutiny. No walls, but boundaries of trees and trust. That theory makes sense to you now. Because despite the openness of tribe life, you crave these slivers of privacy. You crave the space to look at Ash without others looking at you, looking at Ash. You crave the ability to rest your head on their shoulder without hearing a snort of amusement from the fire circle. But privacy doesn't last long. One afternoon, as you and Ash emerge from the hollow, brushing leaves from your tunics, you spot two clan members nearby. One of them raises their eyebrows. The other grins wide, knowing. No words are exchanged. None are needed. Later, someone walks past and tosses a small flower at your feet. A joke. A tease. You smile tightly. Whispers ripple. She shares her roasted roots with them. They've stopped sleeping near anyone else. He gave them a feather last week. Don't think I didn't see? It isn't cruel. Not really. Just the tribal version of gossip. A low hum that swells and fades. But still, it changes things. Your relationship so far, a quiet thing is now a spectacle. A shared tale. In a community like yours, where survival depends on interdependence, romantic privacy is difficult to defend. There's no mine without ours. Every action has a witness. Every connection has consequences. Some scholars argue that true emotional privacy didn't emerge until much later, when homes and doors became common. You can't help but wonder how that would feel to close yourself behind wood and stone, to let love unfold without the weight of watching eyes. But this is the world you know. So you adapt. You and Ash create quiet codes. Stacked stones in certain patterns. Lines scratched into tree bark. A twig left leaning against a stump in a particular direction means meet me at the river bend. A spiral drawn in the mud means I brought honey. You become fluent in each other's silences. And still, there's affection in public. You stop avoiding proximity. You lean against each other while shelling nuts. You trade food openly now. When Ash catches a fish, they hand it directly to you raw, dripping, still twitching. You gut it without complaint. That's practically a love poem. One evening, during a cold snap, the clan huddles close around the central fire. Ash sits beside you, closer than usual. Their knee touches yours, then stays. You feel the heat of it through layers of fur and hide. You don't move. Then slowly, Ash takes your hand. Not in secret, not hidden by shadows. Just openly, quietly, in front of everyone. Some notice, some don't. But you do. You feel your fingers laced with theirs like it's the most natural thing in the world. You squeeze. Once. They squeeze back. After that, something shifts. You still visit the Love Hut when you can. Still seek out that mossy sanctuary beneath the vines. But now, your bond is acknowledged, respected. You sit closer at meals. You share tasks more often. When someone needs help carrying water, they call for you both. When a sleeping mat needs extra furs, it's assumed you'll share. It's not a declaration. not in the way people centuries later might imagine. There's no proposal, no carved stone with both your names. But in this world, attention is a kind of ritual, and the tribe has seen you. You and Ash carve out small rituals of your own. You trade favorite dried fruits. You polish each other's tools. You begin ending each day with the same gesture, a pressed forehead, a hand on the shoulder, a half smile that says, "I'll see you in the morning." And always, when no one's watching or when no one's pretending to, Ash leans in just a little closer than necessary, their breath near your ear, their voice low. In a world without locks, you've made your own room. And inside it, a kind of love has begun to grow. The wind picks up just after sunset, pushing the fire smoke sideways and tugging at the edges of the shelter. You pull your furs tighter around your shoulders, glancing toward the outer ring of camp, where Ash is stacking wood with the quiet strength you've come to recognize, not boastful, just sure. The children are being herded to sleep, their laughter replaced by sleepy protests. Someone hums. An elder begins a slow story, voice thick with age, but you aren't listening. You're watching Ash. Because things have changed. There's something different in the air, now something invisible but undeniable. Not between the two of you, between you and everyone else. You're no longer just a pair of foragers with similar sleep schedules. Now you're a unit, a them. And the tribe has made it known. Every society has rules, even when no one writes them down. Especially when no one writes them down. In your world, those rules float like pollen hard to catch, but always present. And once you've been seen as bonded, every interaction is viewed through a new lens. You're not quite sure how it happened. Maybe it was the way you started eating together, or the way Ash began passing you tools before you even asked, or the fact that you both returned from the love hut with matching grass stains and that particular look in your eyes. Whatever it was, it stuck. And now, the tribe watches, not with malice, but with interest, curiosity, a kind of collective ownership. In a small group 20, maybe 30 people, romance is never just between two hearts. It's woven into the web. A partnership affects sleeping arrangements, task divisions, social dynamics. If Ash hunts less because you need help gathering berries, someone notices. If you laugh too loudly during skinning, someone raises an eyebrow. You become public property, in a way. And with that comes opinion. The elder women begin dropping hints. Have you shown them your water spot yet? Ash has strong shoulders good for winters. You know, my brother's first mate was half your height and could still carry twins on her back. These comments aren't questions. They're invitations to solidify, to settle, to become more than temporary. In many Paleolithic societies, anthropologists believed the community played a significant role in courtship. Pairing wasn't solely emotional, it was logistical. A bonded couple meant stability, children, more hands for the next generation. Romance wasn't private. It was tribal business. Ash feels the pressure too. You see it in the way they flinch at certain jokes, the way they avoid sitting too close during group meetings. Once, they left the shelter early and didn't come back until dusk. When you asked where they went, they just shrugged and said, "Far." Later, you find a fish wrapped in leaves left near your spot. A peace offering. You accept it. Still, you both begin to tread more carefully. At night, when the stars blink cold above the trees and the camp quiets down, you and Ash still find your way to each other. sometimes under the open sky, sometimes by the fire, where everyone can see. But it feels different now, less like discovery, more like maintenance. Jealousy also becomes a shadow, not from you or Ashbutt from others. A younger member of the tribe, wide-eyed and quick with their hands, has started lingering near Ash, offering tools, sitting close. Once, they placed a braided charm near Ash's sleeping mat. Ash didn't pick it up, but they didn't move it either. You noticed. You said nothing. But that night, in the love hut, your laugh was quieter, your touch more hesitant. Ash noticed too. They leaned in close and whispered, "They're just trying." You nodded, said you understood, but the knot in your chest stayed tight. Historians still debate how Stone Age communities handled jealousy. With so few written records, most knowledge comes from patterns burials, living arrangements, social roles. Some believe relationships were flexible, fluid. Others think there were unspoken rules, signs you didn't touch what was already spoken for. In your tribe, the rules are unwritten, but real. When the flirtations continue, a quiet tension builds. One evening, after a successful hunt, Ash receives a slice of meat from the same admirer. They accept it. You watch. Your skin itches. Later, when you're alone, you don't confront them. You just offer them the first bite of your own food. It's a small thing, but it says what you can't. Ash takes it. Still, the tribe notices. An older man approaches you the next day while you're stripping bark. He doesn't look at you when he speaks, just says, "Choose carefully." Every touch echoes. Then he walks off. It sticks in your brain like a thorn. And yet, despite the scrutiny, the jealousy, the expectations, you and Ash hold on. You begin creating new rituals, small ones. You braid their hair in the morning. They draw shapes on your arm with red mud in the evening. You make each other laugh during the dullest chores. You build a rhythm that is yours, even under observation. Some fringe theories suggest that early couples use shared routines as subtle defenses, a way to assert their bond in a world that offered little privacy. A silent language, legible only to each other. You understand that now. Because even as others offer smiles and gifts and attention, Ash still finds you first. You're still the one they seek out when the wind howls, or the rain floods the shelter, or the fire dies too early. When they reach for warmth, they reach for you. And when you laugh, really laugh, they still look like that first night across the fire. Startled, amused, curious. And you? You still feel the same thrum in your chest. Love in the Stone Age is never easy. It's not surrounded by candlelight or rose petals. It's surrounded by mud and cold and 30 other people who share your meals and your air. But when it survives all that, it feels like fire in a cave. Rare, ancient, necessary. The sky this morning is quiet too quiet. You wake to the pale wash of gray clouds rolling low over the tree line. The air smells of damp moss and cold stone. Around you, the tribe moves with its usual slow rhythm. Crackling fires, muttered greetings, the thud of a log being split. But something feels off. You don't see Ash. They weren't near your mat when you woke, weren't by the stream, and they're not among the foragers preparing to leave. You chew slowly on a root someone left near your feet. It tastes bland today, bitter even. The last time you saw Ash, they were laughing with someone else. It shouldn't matter. Not really. The tribe is small. People talk. They laugh. But something about the way they stood close, too close, had sat in your chest all night like a stone. That other forager, the one who's been hovering around for weeks, had placed a feather in Ash's braid. And Ash didn't remove it. You told yourself not to react. You told yourself it was nothing. But now you're sitting here, chewing bark like it's punishment, trying to pretend that everything feels the same. It doesn't. You walk to the edge of camp, pretending to look for mushrooms. Really, you just need to move, to think, to breathe in air that doesn't smell like smoke and suspicion. Your feet crunch softly over the frost-kissed leaves, and you find yourself heading toward the dip in the hillside. The quiet place, the love hut. You found it together, shared it, whispered things in it you hadn't dared speak by the fire. Now it feels hollow. You sit on the same damp stone, pick at the moss between your feet, and wait for the ache in your stomach to settle. It doesn't. You reach into your pouch and run your thumb over the carved bird Ash once gave you. The edges are smooth now, from how often you've held it, from how many times you've needed it. You want to believe this feeling will pass, that it's just a flare of jealousy, that you're being silly, but it lingers. Historians believe jealousy is one of the oldest emotional reflexes humans carry deep, primal, rooted in fear of loss. In small tribes like yours, it can spread like smoke. You know the stories. The hunter who broke a rival's spear after losing a mate's affection. The two gatherers who refused to speak for an entire season after a single shared look went misunderstood. No one teaches you how to manage it. There are no rules, only looks, silences, shifts in where people sit. You stay in the hollow longer than you mean to, long enough for your legs to grow stiff. When you return to camp, the air feels heavier. Someone has caught a fish. Someone else is singing softly. Ash is back, and they see you. You hesitate. So do they. Then Ash walks over. Not too fast, not too casual, just enough that it feels real. You say nothing at first, just stand there. Then softly, you didn't take the feather out. Ash blinks. Their lips part, but no sound comes. You feel the silence stretch like dried sinew. Finally, they reach into their pouch and pull it out. The feather, bent now, slightly muddy. I didn't wear it, they say. I kept it to give back. You nod, but something inside still doesn't loosen. You both walk, out of camp, past the stream, back toward the hollow. No one stops you, but you feel eyes on your back. When you duck beneath the vines, it's like stepping into another world. Everything damp and green and still. You sit. Ash sits beside you. A long pause. I got scared, you admit, fingers curling in your lap. It felt like I didn't know if I was still yours. Ash doesn't flinch, doesn't look away. You are, they say. Even when I'm bad at showing it, even when people try. You nod. But your throat's tight now. Then Ash reaches into their tunic and pulls something out. Not a gift. A stone familiar. The white oval one from days ago. The one they gave you during your last awkward silence. I carried this all day, they say, to remind myself not to mess this up. Your fingers close over it automatically. It's cold from their skin. Then gently, Ash takes your hand. Not like before. Not playful, not romantic, just steady. This is messy, you whisper. Everything here is, they answer. Anthropologists still debate how early humans resolved conflict in intimate bonds. With no writing, no contracts, no laws, resolution had to be felt crafted by attention, forgiveness, repetition. Some researchers even argue that ritual touch was part of this healing. Pressing foreheads, shared meals, offerings placed quietly without demand. So you do just that. You press your forehead to Ash's. You close your eyes. You breathe. When you pull back, you feel better. Not fixed, but better. That night, back at camp, Ash sits beside you again. Not too close, just enough. The fire crackles between you. Someone sings a low, slow tune just humming, really. You hand Ash a strip of roasted meat. They smile and take it. Jealousy doesn't disappear. You still see others looking. Still hear murmurs when you walk together. Still notice when Ash shares a laugh that lasts a little too long with someone else. But now you know what to do. You speak sooner. Ash listens better. You reach for each other more openly, small touches, shared looks, a hand on the back as you pass. These are your language now. Some fringe researchers believe that early couples developed unique micro-rituals to maintain emotional balance. You think they're right. Because now, every morning, Ash gives you one word-soft, quiet, meant only for you. Sometimes it's stay, sometimes sharp. Once, it was real. You've started answering your own quiet words, a secret language no one taught you. And just like that, you're back. Not because the world got quieter, but because you learned how to stand together in the noise. Winter doesn't announce itself. It just arrives. First, with that wind colder than usual, slipping beneath furs that used to feel thick enough. Then the light begins to fade earlier. The trees grow quiet. The animals vanish into hollows and thickets, leaving the forest oddly still. And the people? They begin to shift too. The elders have been muttering about it for days now. How the game is moving. How the roots are thinning. How the ice creeps farther down the river each morning. You wake one morning and find a thin sheen of frost across your sleeping mat. You blow warm air onto your fingers and glance toward Ash. They're already up, braiding something, binding cords, not just for the day, for the journey. Because yes, migration is coming, and with it, choices. The tribe doesn't stay in one place forever. It never has. You've always followed the herds, the food, the weather. When the air thins and the snow whispers through the trees, you move. But this year feels different, because now you're not alone. Now you have someone whose path matters as much as your own. Ash. And that changes everything. In the days that follow, the camp becomes a hive. People checking snares, drying meat, packing tools. Children are fitted for new boots. Packs are lined with extra moss. The bark scribes tally supplies. And you try to act normal. But you notice the looks. You and Ash are being watched again, not with amusement now, but with expectation. People want to know, will you two go together? Will your bond hold? You haven't talked about it. Not really. You assume you'll go wherever Ash goes. Ash seems to assume the same. But assumptions are dangerous, because the migration routes are already being chosen. 2 scouting parties left 3 days ago to find the best direction, one east, one west. When they return, their reports are mixed. The eastern route has more firewood, warmer terrain. The western route has better hunting but harsher winds. The tribe splits. Families declare their preferences. The elders prepare to divide the group. And still, no one asks you directly, until one does. It's a woman from your childhood, someone who shared berries with you during dry seasons, someone who once carried you across a flooded stream. She finds you by the fire. You're going east with us, right? She says, smiling. You hesitate. I don't know yet. Her face shifts. We could use you. You know those woods. And your parents, I know? She nods, says nothing more, just walks away. Later, Ash finds you by the stream. They sit beside you, pulling their legs close. The silence stretches, but not in a bad way. Finally, my group is going west. You nod. I know. They don't ask you to come. You don't ask them to stay. It's too early, or too fragile, or too complicated. Instead, you both gather more mushrooms. Anthropologists believe migration was one of the most emotionally intense events for Paleolithic communities. It wasn't just about food or weather, it meant goodbye. And sometimes, goodbye meant forever. Even within the same clan, splits could last seasons or lifetimes. For couples, it was a test, because bonding was easy when the fire was warm and the paths familiar. But when the ground froze and the map split into two, that's when love either deepened or dissolved. Some scholars argue that the first long-distance relationships began here, not with letters, but with memory. Two people walking away in opposite directions, carrying a token in antler, a carved pebble, a word meant to hold them together across time and terrain. You think about that as you pack. You and Ash still haven't spoken the truth aloud, but you both move more carefully now, more gently. There's less teasing, more touch. Ash helps you bind your pouch tighter. You share your dried roots, your extra sinew. You sleep a little closer. And still, the silence remains. One evening, you finally ask, "If I go east, what happens to us?" Ash doesn't answer right away. Then softly, "I don't want you to go east." You turn to them, then say it. They meet your eyes. "Come with me." That's it. No speech, no ritual, just the truth. And somehow, that's enough. You go to the elders the next morning. You ask to be listed with the Western group. There's a pause, some surprise, but they nod. Write it down. That's all it takes. Choice, in this world, is often just a name spoken at the right time. You tell your parents. They blink, startled, but not angry, not even sad, just accepting. "This is your season now," your mother says. "Go with it." And so you do. Some fringe archaeologists believe that when Stone Age couples migrated together, they created new kinship patterns, essentially forming micro-families that blended across regions. You wonder if you and Ash are becoming that. A beginning of something new, threaded through the old. The night before departure, the tribe feasts. People share final stories, final bites of smoked fish. Gifts are exchanged, small things, but full of meaning. You carve a little figure from bone and give it to your childhood friend. She hugs you without words. That's how goodbyes go. Ash pulls you aside as the fire burns low. They hand you something. It's a stone's maul, smooth, marked with a line carved in a spiral. You smile. You reach into your pouch and pull out your own, a matched spiral in the opposite direction. "Thought you might forget me on the trail," you tease. Impossible, they say. You sleep under the stars that night, not because your shelter is gone, but because it feels right. You lie next to Ash, wrapped in shared furs, watching your breath cloud and vanish. You feel the ground beneath you cold, solid, real. And you whisper, "We'll keep choosing each other, right?" Ash answers without hesitation. Every time. And the wind whistles above, but you don't feel the cold anymore. Not tonight. Not with this. You've never been this cold. It doesn't matter how many furs you're wrapped in. The air slices through everything sharp, thin, patient. It nibbles at your ears, creeps under your collar, settles behind your knees. You can feel it in your bones. Your breath fogs in front of your face, then vanishes. Ash walks beside you, shoulders hunched, lips pale, eyes focused on the ground. You've stopped talking. Everyone has. The cold makes words feel unnecessary. There are about 20 of you now, what remains of the Western group. The rest either split off to other routes or turned back. Every step forward crunches over thin snow and frost-hardened leaves. You haven't seen the sun since the second morning. The tribe doesn't march in a neat line. People drift in and out of formation like birds riding invisible wind. Sometimes you see familiar shapes through the trees, Souther couples, parents carrying children. Other times, it's just you and Ash. The trees are taller here, pine-heavy and solemn. The silence between them feels ancient. You step lightly, trying not to disturb it. You and Ash haven't spoken much since the storm. That night, huddled together in the rock shelter, felt like years ago now. The snow had howled like a wild dog outside, slapping the stone and sticking to your cheeks even under cover. You'd shared everything: heat, food, silence. There had been no room for pride, only survival. Now, you carry that silence with you. But it's not cold anymore, not between you, just quiet, full of knowing. Ash's bruised ribs are still tender. You see it in how they favor their left side, how they move slower, how they wince when tightening their satchel. You don't point it out. You just take more weight. You carry the tools, the firestones. You pick the better paths through the underbrush. You let them lean. You walk side by side for hours like that. Historians still debate whether early humans traveled in large cooperative bands or splintered into smaller kin groups when migrating. But either way, movement through hostile terrain required trust, coordination, and sometimes love. You reach a clearing near midday. It's nothing special, just an open patch of frozen earth surrounded by trees that creak in the wind, but the group decides to rest. Too many ankles twisted, too many bellies empty. You collapse beside Ash, stretching your legs out slowly. The ache in your feet is so deep, it feels like it's inside your skull. You close your eyes and try not to think about food. There's not much left. You each have a strip of dried meat. Yours is tougher than bark. You chew slowly, pretending it's warm stew. Ash offers half of theirs without a word. You shake your head. They insist. You take it. This, you think, is what dating looks like now. Half a dried squirrel on a freezing morning. Romance. You hand them a flint they dropped earlier. They offer you a sip from their water skin. Neither of you smiles. But it's enough. Some fringe researchers have proposed that romantic pairings in Paleolithic migration groups may have increased survival odds more than larger kin units. The idea? 2 people are easier to feed, faster to move, and more likely to make decisions efficiently. It's debated. But in this moment, it feels right. You look around at the rest of the group. There's a couple with their hands linked by a strip of leather so they can't get separated in the fog. There's an old man feeding a toddler from his lap, one bite at a time. There's a teenage girl sitting with her head on another girl's shoulder, eyes half closed. Everyone here is held together by something. You and Ash, too. That night, you don't set up full camp. No fire, no tent, just furs in a half shelter between leaning pines. Too dangerous to light anything with the wind high and the trees this dry. You curl into Ash. The way your bodies fit is different now, more practiced. You know where their elbow rests. They know how your knees bend. At some point, their fingers find your hand, not searching, just finding. You fall asleep like that and dream of warmth. The next day brings fog. A thick, wet white that clings to every tree and muffles every sound. Visibility drops to 10 steps, maybe less. The tribe walks slower, closer. Voices carry oddly disembodied. You feel like you're moving through a dream. Ash's hand never leaves yours. At one point, you nearly step into a frozen creek. They pull you back in time. Your heart slams against your ribs. You grab their wrist and don't let go for a while. You whisper, "Thanks." They whisper back, "Don't drift." You walk in silence after that, not out of awkwardness, just reverence, like the world is listening now. Eventually, the fog begins to lift just a little, enough to see the slope ahead. Trees thin, rocks grow jagged. There's a pass up ahead, and beyond that, unknown. But somewhere, you'll stop. Somewhere, you'll build the next fire. That night, Ash turns to you under your shared blanket of bark fiber and deer hide. Their breath brushes your cheek. "If we find a clearing," they say softly, "I want to make a ring of stones, like the one we had back there." You blink in the darkness, like the love hut. They nod, even if you can't see it. For us, you smile, or maybe you cry. It's hard to tell. "Yes," you whisper. "Yes." And in the dark, your hands find each other again. You think about how far you've come, not just over miles, but through cold and silence and bruises and hunger, through the awkward parts, through the sharp words, through the days when love didn't feel soft. It felt earned, held, kept. Anthropologists often speculate whether emotional bonds helped shape not just early human survival, but the very nature of cooperation itself, love, not just as affection, but as the glue that allowed us to move forward together, step by freezing step. You believe it? Because now you know. Real love isn't loud. It's quiet in the snow. It's steady in the fog. It doesn't need firelight or feathers or carved birds to prove itself. Just two people choosing. Again. Even here. Especially here. You almost miss the clearing when it appears. It doesn't look like much at first, just a shallow dip between two ridges, framed by birch trees and a sloping hill that shields it from the wind. The stream nearby runs slow and glassy, thin sheets of ice already curling at its edges. Someone up front stops walking, then another. Then a voice calls back, flat but certain. "This is it." No one cheers. You're all too tired for that. But you feel something shift just slightly in your chest. The march is over, for now. People start to scatter into the space like loose threads pulled taut for too long. Packs drop. Shoulders sag. Knees bend. A few people just sit on the ground, letting the cold soak through their furs, because standing feels like too much. You and Ash don't say anything. You find a tree together, a wide one with sturdy roots and bark that curls at the edge and lean against it. Their weight rests against your side, and your legs stretch out before you like you haven't used them for weeks. They ache. Everything aches. But for the first time in days, the sky doesn't seem to press down. It just exists. Archaeological evidence suggests that migratory groups of early humans often paused at regular intervals to create temporary camps, especially when navigating mountainous or heavily forested terrain. These weren't permanent homes, but they weren't forgettable either. They were seasonal refuges, sometimes used again and again across generations. You know this might be one of those, a place your feet will remember before your mind does. Ash finally breaks the silence. We stopped. You nod. We're still alive. They grin, tired and lopsided. That too. Around you, people begin moving with new energy, still slow, but more purposeful. A cluster of hunters starts digging a shallow fire pit. Someone else gathers branches for windbreaks. There's a rhythm returning. a reason to do more than simply endure. You and Ash fall into it easily. You help collect dry wood from the edge of the clearing. Ash finds a patch of bark that peels well for roof lining. It's not romantic. It's not sweet. But it's comforting. You're back to working together, not for the path ahead, but for the place you'll sleep tonight. You help raise a lean-to frame beside a bent tree. It's not much, just sticks lashed with cord, a few layers of moss, and some draped hides. But it holds. The wind rolls over the top instead of through your ribs. You sit inside, backs pressed together, and eat the last of your smoked roots. They taste better now, for some reason. That night, you stay up long enough to see the fire rise in the middle of camp. It crackles differently than the travel fires did. Louder, brighter, like it knows it doesn't have to move tomorrow. People huddle near it, laugh, pass around water skins. One woman starts a soft song with no words, just a melody that sounds older than the trees. You and Ash join late, wrapped in a shared pelt, and sit shoulder to shoulder. No one asks questions. No one gives orders. But slowly, silently, people begin to arrange themselves. Pairs settle beside each other. Not just friends, partners. You recognize the patterns. Who leans into whom? Who passes food without asking? Who places a hand on a shoulder when the fire pops too loud? You and Ash have become one of those patterns, and you're okay with it. More than okay. You sleep curled against each other under your half-roofed lean-to, your pouch tucked beneath your knees, Ash's breath soft against the back of your neck. When the wind rises, you don't wake. You start your ring of stones the next morning. Ash suggests it. You agree immediately. You don't need a ceremony. This is it. You both gather flat stones from the stream bed, some round, some rough. Ash finds one with a natural crack shaped like a spiral. You place it at the eastern edge. You each place stones, one by one, around the edge of your shelter. No one helps. No one interrupts. But you know they're watching. Some fringe scholars argue that pre-modern couples often marked shared living space with visible symbols, rings of bone, animal jawbones, or circles of soot or pigment. No proof, of course, just patterns. But patterns mean something. You believe it. Because when you finish the ring, you sit inside it and it feels true. Later, someone leaves a bundle near your entrance. Dried berries, smoked fish, a strip of leather with a knot tied carefully in the middle. No name, no words, but it means we see you. We honor this. You and Ash exchange a glance, say nothing, eat slowly. As days pass, routine replaces hunger. The air is still bitter, but now it smells like pine smoke and roasted roots. Children chase each other in the daylight. Someone builds a tool rack beside the fire ring. You and Ash trade a spare bone needle for a stronger flint blade, and you begin something strange, something new. You build furniture, a word you've never used before, but it's true. Ash weaves a small mat of grass. You carve a sitting stone. You each claim corners for storage. One day, Ash cuts a notch in the lean-to pole and hangs a carved pendant there, the spiral you gave them. It turns slowly in the wind. And when you lie down beneath it, you feel something new. Pride. You whisper, "It's ours now." Ash doesn't answer, just presses their palm against yours. That evening, under the dusky light, you finally talk. Really talk. You watch a bird circle above camp, then disappear. And Ash says, "What do we do when the thaw comes?" You know what they mean. Because this camp, this shelter, this quiet peace, it's seasonal, temporary, You've built something strong, yes, but nature still decides how long you stay. So you answer truthfully. We decide again then. Ash nods. Simple, sober, but not fearful. Because now you both understand. Real love isn't about forever. It's about renewal, about choosing again with every sunrise. Historians still puzzle over how early humans defined relationships, whether through permanence or repetition. No records remain, just traces. But many believe that commitment was less about one grand gesture and more about hundreds of small ones. You feel that now. Ash presses something into your hand. It's a tiny twist of cord, 2 knots, side by side. I made it from your hair, they say. You grin. Creepy. They raise an eyebrow. Romantic. You wrap it around your wrist anyway, and feel it settle there soft, but certain. You close your eyes. This isn't the end of your journey. It's just a place to breathe, a place to stop walking, to build, to belong, together. You don't notice the thaw at first. It's subtle, sneaky almost. One morning, you wake up, and the air in your nose doesn't sting. You step outside the lean-to, and the snow underfoot feels wetterless like powder, more like slush. The world smells different too. Not smoke or sweat, but water, mud, growth. Ash is already awake, crouched near the fire, gently stirring a pot of pine needle tea. They look up at you, steam curling around their cheeks. Your breath isn't fogging as much, they say. You exhale to check. They're right. You sit beside them, letting your legs stretch toward the fire's edge. It's quiet in camp, but not in that frozen, fearful way. More like things are holding their breath, waiting. The stream nearby gurgles more audibly than before. Somewhere above you, a bird chirps twice, then falls silent, as if testing its voice after a long hush. You smile without meaning to. Ash notices. You see it in their shoulders, show they relax just a bit. This might be the first real morning in a long time. That day, people begin moving differently. There's more talking. Not urgent, not clipped, just conversation. The kind you didn't have space for during the migration or the hard freeze. Someone points out a patch of green moss returning on the north ridge. Someone else finds fresh animal tracks deer maybe, or something smaller. There's still snow, yes, but it's melting around the edges. The sky stays brighter longer. Everything's softening. Even you. Archaeological consensus holds that Paleolithic tribes use seasonal cue of snowmelt, bird return, plant growth as signals to shift from survival mode into reorganization. These weren't abrupt changes. They happened like this, slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. You and Ash spend the morning refitting your shelter. It's held up well, but the roof's sagging from melted frost. You strip back the bark, reinforce the frame with thicker limbs, replace the damp moss with dry grass bundles you collected earlier. Ash finds a new hide to line the sleeping area. You don't even need to talk much while working. You hand each other tools, predict the next step, move in rhythm. You've become efficient. It's comforting. Later, you sit by the stream. Ash dips their feet in the water, gasping dramatically at the cold. You follow, wincing, then laughing. It's the first time you've both been playful since the journey began. Ash splashes you. You splash back. A war of grins and shrieks. You fall back on the bank, soaked to your knees, breathless and smiling. They lie beside you, water dripping from their chin. Think we'll ever leave here? They ask. You don't answer right away. The sun is warm on your face. I don't want to, you finally whisper. They nod, watching the sky. Neither of you has said it yet. But the idea is there now, floating like pollen on the thawed air. Maybe this isn't just a camp. Maybe it's a home. That evening, Ash surprises you. You return from gathering firewood to find them arranging small stones in a new spiral just outside your lean-to larger than the original, more intricate. Around it, they've placed small twigs bound in bundles, like rays. It's our marker, they say. For the season? For us. You crouch beside them, touched. Then you add a single feather, one you've kept in your pouch since the Love Hut days. It flutters in the breeze, rests against the spiral like it belongs there. Ash smiles. Perfect. You press your forehead against theirs. Say nothing. The next day, you and Ash are invited to a gathering near the center fire. A few elders have returned from scouting paths northward. They bring news. The high valleys are starting to thaw. Herds are moving again. Other clans might pass through within the moon cycle. Trade is possible, one says. Movement too, says another. The fire crackles. No one says what you're thinking, but everyone knows. The season is shifting, and with it, expectations. Some will move again, follow game, rejoin relatives. Others might stay. You and Ash walk back to your lean-to in silence. Later, you sit by the fire you built together, legs stretched, hands laced. Finally, Ash speaks. We could go. You stare into the flames. Then, we could stay. They nod slowly. Neither choice is easy. Both carry risk. But unlike before, unlike the frantic rush to escape the snow, the unspoken fear of losing each other, this moment feels steady. You're not choosing out of desperation. You're choosing out of desire. Fringe scholars have proposed that Stone Age couples may have influenced the birth of semi-permanent settlement behaviors not by tribal decree, but by quiet, individual acts of commitment to shared space. Two people deciding that here, for now, is enough. You look at Ash. I think I want to stay. Their reply is soft. Me too. That night, you begin planning. Not grand plans, not permanent ones, but little changes. Ash sketches out where to plant tubers, assuming the frost retreats fast enough. You suggest digging a pit to smoke fish if the stream is full again by next moon. You rearrange the inside of the lean-to. They hang the feather higher. You carve new symbols into the bark beside your door. Not just spirals, now lines for seasons, notches for days. Somewhere in that rhythm, you fall asleep. Scholars still discuss the emotional dimension of early settlement, whether it was built on practicality or the rising value of emotional safety. But if you asked your body, your bones, your breath tonight, they'd say it was about love and the luxury of making it last. You curl beside Ash, the fire whispering nearby. The wind is quieter than it's been in weeks. The ground beneath you no longer feels like something to escape. It feels like something to return to. Tomorrow, you'll add more stones to the ring. Tomorrow, you'll invite others to share tea. Tomorrow, you'll teach a child how to sharpen flint. Tomorrow, you'll choose each other again, and again, and again. You drift to sleep with that thought, like a lullaby, wrapped in moss and warmth. Maybe this isn't just a pause. Maybe this is how a life begins. You don't realize you've settled in until your body stops bracing for departure. One morning, you wake, stretch beneath your furs, and you don't feel the urgency in your bones, the instinct to pack, to move, to scan the sky for storm signs. It's not that the dangers are gone. It's that they've become background noise, like wind through branches. Still there, just quieter. Ash is already up, outside by the fire, grinding dried seeds on a flat rock. You can hear the steady rhythm crunch. Crunch. Pause. You know they're humming under their breath, even if you can't hear it. You step out of the shelter, blink at the pale morning light. The air smells of pine, smoke, damp soil. You breathe it in, and for the first time, it smells like home. You fall into a rhythm. It's not dramatic. There are no ceremonies, no carved declarations, just the small, ordinary movements that only feel special when you realize they weren't there before. You and Ash eat every meal together now. Sometimes on your knees beside the fire, sometimes seated on the log bench you made from a fallen birch. You don't plan it, it just happens. Like the way you each grab the same water gourd without needing to ask, or how you hand them a flint shard before they even realize they dropped it. There's a quiet intimacy in these patterns, a vocabulary made of glances, small nods, half smiles. Once, Ash braids your hair badly. Their fingers keep snagging, but they finish, and you wear it all day. Later, you catch your reflection in a still puddle and laugh out loud. You look like a bird's nest. A charming one, though. Ash shrugs. You're welcome. Archaeological findings suggest that even in mobile forager societies, couples formed long-term domestic units with shared tools, sleeping spaces, and sometimes even private hearth signs of sustained cooperative life. You think about that now, stirring the same pot of stew you've eaten for 4 days straight. Cooperative? Sure. Boring? A little? Comforting? Absolutely. The weather keeps improving. You hang damp hides in the sun and watch birds land in the nearby trees without scattering immediately. The stream runs stronger now, its banks muddy with promise. You and Ash build a small bench together. Just a log, split in half, legs carved to wedge into the ground. You place it beside the shelter, facing the trees. Romantic, Ash deadpans. You grin, for staring meaningfully into the distance. They nod. Essential. You spend long evenings there, leaning into each other, watching the fire crackle, the sun drift lower, the camp settle. No grand declarations, just presence. One evening, Ash takes your hand and starts tracing shapes on your palm with their fingertip. You close your eyes. They draw a spiral, then a line, then a lopsided fish. You open one eye. Was that a fish? Ash smirks. You tell me. You shake your head. You're terrible at this. They try again. A bear, they say. It feels like a poorly drawn potato. You laugh until your ribs hurt. That night, you both fall asleep, with your hands still laced. More people start decorating their shelters. Someone ties painted feathers to a roof post. Another family carves a series of marks above their entry sun. Sun, wave, sun. You don't know what it means, but it looks deliberate. Ash decides your spiral wall is missing something. So you gather ochre clay and use fingers to paint faint red loops around the entrance. Ash adds short lines radiating out like sunbursts. It's messy, childlike. Perfect. A child wanders by and says, "Your house looks like it's glowing." You thank them. Ash bows theatrically. It becomes a joke in the camp, the glowing love hut. You pretend to be annoyed, but secretly, you like it. Fringe interpretations of symbolic art suggest that early shelter markings weren't just about territory. They may have represented pair bonds, shared identity, or even private storytelling between partners. Maybe your glowing spiral doesn't mean much to anyone else. But to you, It's everything. One afternoon, you find a bird's nest tucked into a crook of a tree near the stream. Tiny, perfect, still warm. You call Ash over. They crouch beside you, peering at the delicate structure. Inside, 4 pale speckled eggs. You both go quiet. Because somehow, this simple thing, the care it must have taken, the choice of the spot, the survival of softness in a hard world, says more than any carved pendant ever could. Ash whispers, "They're starting something." You nod. Like us. They don't reply. They don't need to. You start planning small things. Not migrations or hunts. Just ideas. Ash wants to try weaving a mat from reeds. You suggest building a better rack for drying roots. One evening, you sketch a new fire pit design in the dirt with your toe. Ash adds a water drainage trench. You both stare at it like it's revolutionary. Later, someone invites you to a meal. You bring berry mash and roasted bark strips. The conversation wanders. Someone tells a story about the stars. Another person imitates a bear's sneeze. You can't stop laughing. You catch Ash looking at you. Not intensely, just content, like they're watching the sky clear after a storm. And you realize something. You're not waiting for love to arrive anymore. You're in it. Already. Still. Anthropologists still debate whether emotional attachment or resource efficiency played a stronger role in prehistoric domestic partnerships. But sitting on your crooked bench, warm bowl in hand, partner by your side, you don't care. You just know it feels right. You and Ash fall asleep that night before the fire even dies out. Wrapped in soft layers, faces pressed close. You wake hours later, still holding each other, still choosing, still here. It begins with a footprint in the mud. You almost step on it, deep, fresh, toes spread, heel firm. Too long for a child, too light for a bear. Human, but not from your camp. You crouch beside it, your breath catching. The mud around it is still wet, the edges unblurred. Less than a day old. Maybe hours. Maybe less. Ash joins you, squinting. They don't say anything. They don't have to. You both know. This print doesn't belong to anyone here. Back at camp, you mention it to a few others. Quietly, casually. You try to sound unbothered. Just an observation. Could have been someone scouting. Or just passing through. Someone frowns. Another sharpens their blade without looking up. Then someone else says it. There was smoke. Up on the east ridge yesterday. Thin column. A moment passes. Then another voice. I saw strip bark too. Cut clean. Not like a deer rub. The camp doesn't panic. But the mood changes. Ash tightens the lashings on your shelter. You find yourself checking your supplies more carefully. Counting your flint shards. Repacking your pouch. Not out of fear, exactly. Just readiness. The cold has receded, but the world beyond your clearing is waking up again. And it might not come gently. That night, you both sleep lighter. Every snap of a twig outside has weight. You curl closer. Ash does too. Their hand wrapped tight around your wrist, like an anchor. For the first time in weeks, your dreams are thin, easily broken. Mainstream archaeological studies confirm that prehistoric campsites were often ringed with strategic fire placements, creating both light and smoke to deter animals and possibly signal to other humans. This space is occupied. Your own fire burns longer that night, higher than usual. Not for heat, for presence. You want to be seen, but only in the way animals see another predator's mark and decide to keep moving. The next morning, a scout team is formed, 3 seasoned walkers, and 1 young tracker. They move without fanfare, just nods, packs, and spears. You and Ash watch them disappear into the trees. Neither of you speaks, but you feel the same pressure behind your ribs. Not panic, just the prickling truth that nothing is truly yours out here. Not even the ground you've learned to call home. They return that evening. No rush, no wounds, but their faces say enough. There's a group up the ridge. 1 reports. 6, maybe 7. No clear markings. Not our people. Someone asks, do they look dangerous? The oldest scout just shrugs. They look prepared. That's all it takes. By nightfall, every family is quietly reinforcing shelters. Tools are double counted. Children are kept closer to home. A few bows are strung and left near fire pits. Ash starts weaving a second wall of reeds for your lean-to. You help. No one talks about leaving. But no one dares assume they're staying either. Then come the drums. You hear them 2 nights later low, distant, like the pulse of the earth itself. A steady thrum that fades in and out with the wind. Not a war drum. Not frantic. Just present. A message. Or a memory. You and Ash sit up, listening together. They're calling someone, Ash whispers. You nod, heart tapping along with the rhythm, or reminding us they're still there. The firelight flickers against your faces, and you wonder if that sound is meant for you. If it's a warning, or a welcome, or just a way to be less alone in the trees. Fringe scholars have speculated that early human couples often acted as emotional stabilizers within camps, especially during external contact. The logic is quiet but persuasive. 2 people, anchored, calm, projecting normalcy. Not warriors, not leaders, just constant. You notice the shift around you. People begin sitting closer together at meals. A father lets his child sleep between 2 other shelters, just in case. Fires are clustered nearer now. Eyes scan the tree line more often. And at the center of it all, without meaning to, is you and Ash. You still gather bark, still clean your tools, still walk hand in hand to the stream. Not for show, but others see it anyway. They see that you haven't changed, that you're still steady, and it soothes something deep in the bones of the camp. Then, on the 5th day, you see them. 2 figures, just beyond the stream. Far enough not to be threatening, close enough to be seen. They aren't trying to hide. They're gathering something, roots maybe, or edible shoots. One stands guard while the other digs. You and Ash freeze, but only for a moment. Then you keep walking. Not fast, not slow, just normal. The strangers look up, see you, but don't run. They nod. You nod back. And that's all. You return to camp with wood in your arms and a new tension in your chest. Ash is quiet. So are you. That night, you build a new fire ring. Ash helps you shape the stones wider than your usual one, meant to cook for more than just 2. It's an unspoken offering, not to the strangers, to the future. A quiet suggestion. We are not hiding. We are not afraid. We are open. Cautiously, a woman named Tava, the oldest in the camp, approaches your fire that night. She sits down without asking. You offer tea. She accepts. She sips, looks at the flame, and then at the spiral over your shelter. You know, she says, you 2 remind me of the ones we lost, from the mountain years. You say nothing. She continues. They used to sit just like that, shoulder to shoulder. Never said much, but when trouble came, you could count on them not to break. Ash stirs the fire with a stick. Is that a compliment? They murmur. Tava chuckles. Yes, a rare one. She leaves you both with that. And you don't talk for a long while because it sinks in, not the praise. The fact that love, steady, simple, quiet love can be a kind of shield too. Historians still debate how love was shown in Paleolithic society, whether it was private, like a hidden ritual, or public, like a banner. But maybe it was something in between. A flame no one points at directly, but everyone gathers around when the wind changes. That night, you lie awake together. Ash says, "Do you think they'll come?" You listen to the trees. "I think they already have." They squeeze your hand. Then what happens next? You answer without fear. "We keep doing what we're doing. Loving, living, and both." Because by now, for you, they've become the same thing. You wake to birdsong. Not the tentative chirp of a lone sparrow, but a full symphony, sharp trills, watery warbles, soft calls echoing from tree to tree. It drifts through the shelter wall, slow and golden like honey. Ash is still asleep beside you, a hand curled near their cheek, hair tousled, breath steady. Their chest rises and falls in time with the breeze, which slips through the roof thatch with a low sigh. You stay still for a while. Let the warmth of morning creep up your arms. Let the sounds settle into you like a rhythm. There's no reason to rush today. No storm on the horizon. No hunger gnawing at your belly. Just light and peace and the quiet weight of someone beside you who's decided for now not to go. Later, you walk down to the stream together. The water's clearer now, racing over stone, reflecting the pale blue of a nearly cloudless sky. Frogs croak from the far bank. You fill your gourd slowly, then sit for a while, letting the dampness of the moss creep into your clothes. Ash skips a stone. It plunks into the water immediately. They try again. It skips once, then sinks. You raise your eyebrows. "Impressive, you say?" Deadpan. Ash shrugs, a smile tugging at their mouth. "Still better than yours." You take your turn. The stone sails twice. Victory. "Champion of the valley," you declare. Ash bows dramatically. You both laugh until your stomach hurts. The camp feels different now, not tense, not suspicious, but open. A little wider around the edges, as if everyone has exhaled together after holding their breath for too many nights. People are building again. New racks, new shelters, new patterns on the walls. One child now walks around with stripes of ochre across their cheeks, self-painted, messy, delighted. An elder adds a carved bird to the standing post at the center of the fire circle. And you and Ash? You've started planting. Not much. Just some tubers and herbs near a small clearing where the soil stays moist. It's not about survival anymore. It's about rooting. One morning, you notice a small pile of feathers and berries placed at the camp's edge, near the stream where the gifts were exchanged. You weren't the one who put it there, but you recognize the structure. It mimics your spiral loosely, imperfectly. Someone else is copying your language. Ash sees it too. They smile, but don't say anything. Instead, they take your hand and squeeze. It's spreading. Not just between you two, but outward. Mainstream archaeology tells us that contact between neighboring tribes during the Upper Paleolithic wasn't just about resources or territory. It often led to shared rituals, artistic fusion, even intermarriage. What began as proximity became connection, and what began as exchange became story. The strangers haven't entered camp, but they've come closer. Sometimes you catch sight of them across the ridge walking, always in pairs. They never hide, but they don't intrude. And now, they leave something new. A fish, skinned, cleaned, wrapped in reeds, left at the edge of your fire circle one evening before dusk. A message, unmistakable. We see you. We respect you. You and Ash prepare something in return. A bundle of dried roots, folded inside soft fur, with a piece of red ochre tucked into the center. A spiral marked lightly on the outside, carved with your own blade. Ash walks it out there, places it where the fish had been, then returns to sit beside you in silence. The fire crackles between you. The sky slowly purples overhead. Neither of you speaks, because what needs to be said has already passed between hands. Some fringe historians believe that intimate partnerships, not clan leaders or shamans, were the first to broker alliances between groups, not through negotiation, through presence, through kindness, through fire shared in silence. You understand that now. That night, a woman appears, not from your camp, one of theirs. She walks slowly into the clearing, palms open, eyes scanning without fear. She's alone. Her hair is braided tightly, her face marked with faint ash lines across her cheekbones. Everyone freezes. Then someone in elder steps forward and offers her water. She drinks. You watch from your fire. Ash sits beside you, hand tight on your knee. The woman doesn't stay long, but she smiles before she leaves. A small thing, honest, unafraid. In the days that follow, things begin to ripple outward. More gifts are left and exchanged: fish hooks, seeds, strips of hide. Someone in your camp begins learning the gestures of their speech. A child from their group, timid, barefoot, runs through your clearing chasing a dog, laughing. Ash says, "I think we're becoming a village." You glance around, at the ring of shelters, at the shared drying racks, at the fire pits that never go cold now. You nod. Feels that way. You look at them. We helped make this. Ash nudges your shoulder. We didn't mean to. Doesn't matter. Scholars still debate what pushed humans to settle, whether it was the pursuit of safety, the lure of abundance, or the pull of belonging. But maybe it was love too. Maybe it was waking up beside someone and saying, "Here is enough. You are enough." That night, Ash brings you a gift, wrapped in bark. You open it carefully. Inside, a bone pendant, carved to resemble a feather wrapped around a spiral. Your spiral. Their spiral. You look up at them. They scratch the back of their neck. It's not perfect. You run your thumb over the grooves. It's ours. You tie it around your neck with a strip of sinew and fall asleep with their hand curled into yours. Tomorrow, you'll walk out together and meet their people. Tomorrow, a new fire will be built between the camps. Tomorrow, a child will sit in your lap and ask you to tell a story. Tomorrow, the two of you will show them how to carve a spiral into stone. But for now, you sleep, wrapped in fur, in firelight, in each other. And everything, for once, is still. The meeting is quiet. No drums, no chants, no war paint or raised spears. Just two camps walking toward each other across a dew-covered meadow slough, steady, cautious, and curious. You and Ash stand near the front, shoulder to shoulder. Not because you were asked, not because you lead anything, but because when change comes, it often walks toward those who've already learned to stay. The others follow your rhythm. Your spiral, carved above the shelter, has become something more than decoration. It's a signal now, a kind of quiet promise. And as the two groups meet under the pale spring sun, you realize This is how a village begins. The woman you met before returns. She smiles when she sees you. Her hair is tied with blue cord today. A child walks behind her, hiding shyly behind her leg. Ash steps forward and offers a bundle of reed-wrapped dried tubers. You follow, with a water skin and a carved shell. The woman accepts both, then offers her own gifts: a bone comb, finely etched, and a hide pouch filled with dark green seeds. Your fingers brush hers briefly, just long enough. Then you all sit. Circles form around fires. Stones are warmed. Words are passed carefully between hands, translated by gesture and laughter. Someone starts humming. Someone else claps softly. Ash nudges you, whispering, "This isn't survival anymore." You nod. This is something better. The strangers are no longer strangers. One offers to help rebuild a fallen shelter. Another shows your people how they trap fish beneath layered stones. Your group, in return, teaches them how to seal baskets with resin. Children from both sides now run barefoot between fires, wild with shared games and sticky fingers. And somewhere in that joyful chaos, a new kind of life quietly takes hold. It's not always easy. There are misunderstandings. Someone takes too many berries. A tool goes missing. Two men argue over who set a snare where, but no one leaves. Because now, leaving would feel like tearing down something too delicate, too precious. You find yourself laughing more, sleeping better, eating slowly, not because you must ration, but because the stew is finally worth savoring. One evening, you sit with Ash on your old log bench, the one you carved so long ago when the snow still clung to the roots. Now, moss creeps over its edges. It's soft. So are you. So is everything. Ash rests their head on your shoulder. A child's laughter echoes from somewhere behind the shelters. Someone plays a rhythm on a log drum. A dog barks once, then settles. And above, the sky darkens slowly, indigo, melting into navy, stars rising one by one, like breath held, then released. Mainstream research has shown that early proto-villages began not with monumental decisions, but with repeated choices: to stay, to share, to trust. You see that now. You feel it every time your fire is joined by another. Every time someone sets their bowl beside yours. Every time Ash reaches for your hand, not out of fear, but out of habit. This is your life now. Not a waiting room. Not a test. Not a struggle. A life. Fringe theorists have even argued that the first governments weren't rule-based, but relationship-based, formed not by force, but by deep, visible pairs like you and Ash, who taught others how to stay still without becoming stuck. You don't know if that's true. But when someone from the newer group asks if they can build near your shelter, close enough to learn from you, you find yourself saying yes without hesitation. Ash adds, "We'll show you the spiral." You help them mark it in stone. Together, historians still debate what counts as the beginning of civilization. Was it the first planted seed? The first wall? The first fence? You wonder if it was actually something smaller. A choice to hold a hand, again and again, even when the world was still wild. Even when there was no word for home. Even when you thought it was all temporary, that night, as the sky darkens fully, and a soft hush falls across your new village, you step outside your shelter and watch the firelight flicker across familiar faces. Ash appears beside you, wrapping a fur around your shoulders without asking. You smile. They smile back. No words. Just warmth. Just knowing. You tilt your head back. The stars blink overhead, unbothered by the shape your life has taken. You exhale, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like you're settling down. It feels like you've arrived, right where you're supposed to be. So now, as the fire dims and the last embers crackle soft in the night, let your breathing slow. Let your shoulders ease. You've walked a long way, through ice and hunger, through doubt and cold silence. But here under stars that have watched every love before yours, you've stopped moving. You've built something, not out of stone, or bone, or bark, but out of choosing. Over and over, in the rustle of grass beneath your resting body, in the warmth of the shelter beside you, in the way the night air no longer bites, but brushes, there is peace. Not perfect, but real. Listen to the rhythm of breath, yours and theirs. Feel how naturally your hands find each other in the dark. This is the soft ending of the season, not a closing, but a folding in. A lullaby written in ash and moss. The spiral you carved together still holds. The fire might fade, but the warmth doesn't leave. You've made something that survives beyond the frost. And now, as your eyes drift closed and the stars wheel slowly on above you, let yourself rest. Fully, safely, loved. Sweet dreams, wanderer. End of story. Sweet dreams.